All right, welcome to the Movie Poster Fan Club. Different setup here today just because the Christmas tree is situated right where I normally shoot my videos. So this is going to be a different video today. As I said last week, I want to explore different topics. So I have hinted in the past that I've been interested in kind of taking a little deep dive into character posters because I don't really know much about them. And I thought that this would be a great opportunity since it's December to look at the best and the worst character posters from the year. Okay, it's not really the best and the worst. It's some that have caught my eye in that they're quite good, and others that just I thought were like worth noting, not necessarily because they're good. I only have one specifically bad character poster collection to show, and we'll start with that one. That's Sonic 3. This is really just as a barometer, just so you can see what like not to do or what like an ugly, unambitious, generic character poster looks like. These are just kind of lame, literally just a studio photo in front of these very, very similar, flashing lights in the background, and that's it. Different color per character. It's pretty stock. It's pretty much for the kiddies, this one. So don't want to be too mean to it, but let's just move on from this. Okay, so this one's for Alien Romulus. Now, I kind of like these because they sort of look like character cards. I even like the way that it has the copyright 20th Century Studios at the bottom. It's kind of unique, and you'll see with the rest of these, you'll see that normally the title, they still try to maintain the visual language of the other posters of that movie. But in this case, Alien Romulus really just looks like a title that you would see on a character card. I think my one complaint with this is that the photos are just way too like crisp and like well lit. These cards look very, very tangibly like, old and used, but those photos are just so clear. And I think maybe the simple fix would have just been to remove that nice like backlighting on them. In these sort of game like character cards, they would usually have a lot flatter lighting. So I feel like that's maybe the only thing that I would have done differently, and it would have sold a bit more the concept here. So yeah. All right, we're gonna go with Anora now. I've now seen the movie. It's very good. Highly recommend. And she's technically called Anora, but to distinguish this character poster from the actual movie poster, they have her as Annie, because that's how she refers to herself in the movie. One thing that I really like about this, right? You'll see it'll say a Cinderella story from Sean Baker, a drama from Sean Baker, a comedy from Sean Baker, a tragedy from Sean Baker, a boy fairy tale from Sean Baker, a jelly tale from Sean Baker. This one's the only one I don't really understand because she's not in the movie that much. I wouldn't have dedicated a whole character poster for her. But anyway, I just thought that this was like a cool idea. And in fact, the movie title isn't on this at all. But if you've seen an Anora poster, you will recognize the font and the neon lights that kind of define that poster campaign. And just the fact that it says that it's from Sean Baker. And you know that it's the Palme d'Or winner. So there's enough information there that you don't need to be reminded necessarily that it is for the movie Anora. So that's cool. Okay, Borderlands next. And now I've heard this is a really, really bad movie, so not endorsing the movie at all. But compared to other kind of big blockbuster character posters, and let's, be real here, most character poster collections that I've found has been for kind of blockbuster movies, because that's normally the kind of movie that will create character posters. Anora is a bit of an exception. But out of the ones that I've seen, I think the Borderlands one is kind of cool. I like the sort of multicolored background with the, with that green Kate Blanchett as Lilith right down the middle. And I don't know. I just think it's a pretty cool look. I like the color coordination that they kind of went with here. And it's just kind of fun. And I think it does sell the movie pretty well and sells these characters. They do really exhibit their personalities, and you sort of know what you're going to get from when you see the movie. So that's all very cool. I like that. A complete unknown. Now, one thing that I like about this is sort of the orange and blue text. And I think it's got really nice text coordination, and I like how a complete unknown is the only thing that's not in blue or orange. It really makes that stick out. All of them are fairly similar. They all have sort of the same look. They all kind of look vintage. They look like they were shot on film. They have this sort of nostalgic quality to them. And I do like the overall blue and orange vibe to them. You'll notice that it's not just in the text. In this photo, for instance, you'll have blue and orange in the lights in the background. Same as here, the fog is in blue and it's in orange. Blue and orange here as well. So I think that's a really cool look. I just really like the color coordination that they went with for this collection of character posters. So that's all really great. Conclave. These aren't like particularly interesting, but I just kind of wanted to show like a wide range of posters. And you get the characters kind of like in a complete unknown. You get them inside the universe of the movie. So that's kind of nice. This is probably like the least effort that they put into any of the character posters that I'm going to show you in this video, because it's literally just changing the photos and the name of the actor at the top, but everything else is absolutely identical. And you know what? Sometimes that's all you need, right? So okay, Cuckoo. This is a really, really striking poster. It kind of looks like it was shot like in a circular fashion. I don't know how to really explain this effect that they're doing, but it's sort of like they were reflected on a plane of water, and there was like a drop of water in the middle, so it kind of makes everything look circular and like puddle-like, if that makes sense. Okay, Emilia Pérez. I just watched this. Didn't like it very much at all, but I do really love these posters that they do. Sort of has a visual language that's sort of similar to one of the posters that I've already talked about on this channel. It's always good when, like in Anora, that they sort of harken back to the visual look of the theatrical posters that you will have already seen, and that immediately kind of adds a sort of level of cohesion to all of the posters for the movie, be them character posters or theatrical. And I do like how they change the quote at the top of it, which makes way more sense, right? If you look at these, what happens behind these walls will change everything. Or even in A Complete Unknown, The Ballad of a True Original, we're not getting any new information depending on which character poster we're looking at, right? And I'm not saying that that should be the standard, but that's one thing that I do appreciate about the Emilia Pérez ones, is that not only do they sort of change, you know, the direction of the text and things like that, they also change a little bit the colors. You'll notice that the laurels over here, they sort of change color depending on the poster. But I do like how the quotes are different in each poster. That, I don't know, you just get a little extra piece of information for each one. Not all character posters have to be identical. I like how she's trans, and it's got like pink and blue, which I think that sort of, you know, girl and boy, I feel like that might have been intentional. Okay, these have to be some of my favorite character posters that I've shown you this entire video. And since I looked through all the character posters that have come out for major Hollywood movies in the past year, it's got to be in like a top 3 of the year for me, because I love these posters. They're so cool because you can just barely see who the actors are behind them. But just this effect, it adds so much intrigue. They're all in like picture frames, and they're wrapped in plastic, and so they're distorted and weird. I just love these so much. They're so unique. They don't change anything else about them except for like the photos. It's such a cool concept, and it immediately makes me want to watch the movie. I've already reviewed some posters for the end, and they've been so cool. But these character posters, they're like top notch. I just love these. Okay, Gladiator II. These aren't the only character posters for Gladiator II, but they are my favorite. Just because they I don't know, I do sort of like this sort of gold and black and white sketched painted style that they went with. It's pretty nice. I don't know. There's not much to add. They're fairly classic, but I think we could just, you know, appreciate the look and feel of these character posters. I've seen the movie. I thought the movie was awful, but these are pretty good. Okay, The Good Half. These are kind of cool. You know, they have like a different color background for each of these, and the characters themselves are color coordinated with the background. So I like that extra level of thought there. But one thing that I saw here, and I actually saw these a few months back, and I thought, when I talk about character posters sometime later this year, I have to come back and mention these, just because I think it's a really cool idea to have the cast just be there, but like the different cast member that's being represented in the character poster be highlighted in white. That's really creative. I think that's like a really cool idea. I like how everything's just kind of aligned down here. It has like that double meaning, right? Because it's called the good half. So just conceptually, the poster has to be divided in two. All right, Hitman. Now, these are pretty generic, I'm not going to lie. I don't love these character posters, but one thing I do like about them is that Glenn Powell has a bunch of different character posters, because having seen the movie, I know that he disguises himself a lot in the movie. You see these and you'll kind of get a little bit of the tone of the comedy, which I think is great, because it's not really telling you the tone if you look at one individual poster, but if you look at a line of character posters, and you'll see that like 5 of them are Glenn Powell in different disguises, you sort of start kind of, clocking into like the kind of movie that they're trying to sell you. So I really like that. That's really funny. It's good stuff. Like the designs themselves are pretty generic, but that concept's really cool. And then we have Adria Arjona, who's just herself. Okay, the Killer's Game. So I just thought that the use of color here was just unique and worth showing. All they do is they change the color and like the photo, but it's kind of cool, and I kind of like how these colors are sort of contrasted up against the other. We get like the pink and the turquoise, or the green and the orange, and the pink and the purple. Like, I don't know, it's just like sometimes they're contrasted, sometimes they complement each other, and it's just, I don't know. They're kind of cool. They do stand out. I especially like this one. The green on the orange is kind of funky. So it doesn't seem like a movie that I would like, but I didn't even realize it was already out. Okay, so it's out. Haven't seen it. Probably won't. Okay, I've talked about these before. Worth mentioning again, because these are probably my favorite character posters of the year. It's definitely between this and The End, but I made a whole video on the Kinds of Kindness poster campaign, because I think they just did a really amazing job. Vasilis Marmatakis is the designer behind these posters, and they're just so cool. They're so insanely creative. Definitely, if you want to know a bit more about the entire poster campaign for Kinds of Kindness, click on the link on the eye. Okay, Madam Web. All right, so again, kind of generic, but one thing worth noting about them that I kind of liked is just that, I don't know, they have this sort of black and white effect where they just kind of makes their eyes pop in color, and that's kind of cool, and they're also their costumes, it's sort of green, but it's almost all in black and white. I like how this sort of web is projected onto their faces. So as bad as this movie supposedly was, I haven't seen it. These character posters, as far as like really commercial ones are concerned, they're not bad. They aren't bad. Okay, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Never saw this movie, but I just kind of like the vibe here. They don't give you that much information. For one thing, you can barely tell who these actors are based on the artistic style of these posters. So hard to tell from that, and you don't know their character names. You don't know much, really. But I just thought that artistically, they looked pretty cool. So they sell the movie. So they kind of do the same thing that a regular theatrical poster does, but just in a collection of posters. But they don't really tell you anything more about the movie, other than the fact that, well, they're gangsters. They all have guns and stuff. So, there's that. It might give you a sort of sense of the tone. That does look like Henry Cavill. So I think we got one. Okay, I really love these Nosferatu posters. So as I've said, I've had criticisms over the font and the text in a lot of these Nosferatu posters, just because they always use the same sort of font, but they're always like kind of close together. And in this case, they're not. They use different size. They are separated. We have Nosferatu huge at the top, and we got Lily Rose Depp small in the bottom. That's a good use of that font. I think it's just when you start getting a lot of words in the same font and in the same size and in the same color, it just started looking repetitive. But not in this case. They all just have this sort of like, I don't know, gothic look to them, and that sells the movie really well. Yeah. I'm a fan of these. I like how they're sort of in front of the S and the F, but behind the T. The piano lesson, pretty generic, I would say, just a still from the movie, or I don't even know if they're a still. They're probably taken specifically for these posters. I do like kind of their lighting, but it has to be said, I had this issue with the theatrical poster as well. The text is just like really ugly. It's just so blocky, and the spacing's kind of weird, and this is in gray, so you can't really read anything that it says there. So I don't really love the text all that much, which is a shame. Okay, Poolman. Now, this looked like a not so good movie, but they've got a unique artistic direction with these character posters. They're illustrated. They're kind of fun. I don't want to say they're necessarily illustrated, though. Technically, they look like they've been rotoscoped, or maybe they're just photos and they just have an effect on them. I don't really love the look of these, to be honest. I feel like they kind of look a bit ugly, but, you know, worth showing. And also, I like how Danny DeVito looks here. Danny DeVito, he's got a fun vibe. The Strangers, Chapter 1. I went with these just because they're sort of classic character posters, but they've decided to go for extreme close-ups of their faces. And that's just, you know, unique. You know, it definitely sells the horror a little bit here. Yeah, I like the way they're lit. You can tell that she's like a little bit blurry, but that's cool. You know, it gives you a little sense of movement. I don't know. Not much to say design wise, but I just thought that the extreme close-up effect was worth mentioning. Now for another horror movie one, I kind of like this. This is Terrifier 3. They had a pretty cool poster campaign. I've talked about a lot of their posters, actually. I think one thing that's interesting about these Terrifier 3 character posters is that the titles that they put on them don't really say the character names or the actors or anything like that. They just sort of describe the character. And I don't know if there are spoilers. I don't know if, like, you know, this guy survives in the end, so that's why he's called the Survivor. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The final girl, you know, like there's always a final girl in these horror movies. So I think that it just sort of plays with the audience's expectations. So that's kind of cool. I also do like how Terrifier is reflected on his eyes there. So that is kind of fun. And there's the witch. That one's pretty terrifying. Okay, the last ones that we're going to talk about, the Thicket. Now, I have never heard of this movie. I sort of like the way that they look like they're aged, kind of like the character player cards that Alien Romulus had. They sort of have that sort of antiquated vibe to them, but I like how all their names are sort of spray painted. I don't know if it has been literally spray painted in order to achieve this effect, or maybe just some very, very talented graphic designer did it all on the laptop. But these really do give you a very specific mood and feel that sells the movie well, I guess. Yeah, there we go. Peter Dinklage. And that is everything. I hope you liked this sort of deep dive. I think the Kinds of Kindness and the End character posters take the cake for me design wise. I will try and keep making videos during the December month, but you know, I'm gonna go visit family and all that, so we'll see how much time I have. But anyway, like and subscribe, and happy holidays.